You know, they always say success is the best teacher. It's a total lie. Success teaches you absolutely nothing. It just pats you on the back, confirms what you already think you know, and makes you arrogant. It's a terrible way to keep score in a life lived on the front lines. But scars, well, scars are different. They're a record, right? A permanent ledger of every single miscalculation, every betrayal, every gut-wrenching truth you were forced to look in the eye. They're the only accounting that really matters.
Look, this isn't just some catchy phrase you stick on a poster. This is the fundamental truth of the game. A truth I had to buy with my own blood, my own treasure. It's the core principle of this entire recollection. Everything else, from here on out, it's just commentary on this one single brutal lesson.
Your first real lesson, man, it's always the most expensive one. It's the one that just rips away all that youthful arrogance and replaces it with this healthy, brutal respect for how things actually work. This particular lesson cost me millions, but what it bought me in return, you can't put a price on that.
So there I was, 26 years old, and let me tell you, I thought I was the smartest guy in any room. I just closed this big deal with a luxury auto brand promising to completely revolutionize their sales model. I built them this incredible, cutting-edge digital platform. The tech was brilliant, the whole shebang, and I was about to get my teeth kicked in by a lesson about what value really means.
6 months. 6 months after launch, the CEO calls me to shut the whole thing down. And that's the number that just flashed in my mind, burning a hole in my screen. The money I was going to have to give back. But the real cost, you see, it wasn't the money. The real cost was a flawed, almost fatal misunderstanding of what people are actually about.
I can still hear his voice on that call, clear as day. He said, "Julian, our clients don't want to buy a $300,000 car through an app. They want the private showroom, they want the champagne, they want the relationship." And just like that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd built something for me, for the tech, not for them. I'd forgotten the most important rule in the book. The product is never the product.
But that was a market scar. Painful, sure, but clean. Personal scars, they're a different animal entirely. See, a betrayal doesn't just cost you money. It completely re-engineers your worldview. It teaches you to build a different kind of fortress, forged from a completely different kind of pain. Fast forward a few years, I'm in Monte Carlo celebrating what I thought was the biggest win of my life, a $25 million acquisition of my agency. I thought I'd finally made it, won the game. Then, at 3 in the morning, my phone starts buzzing off the hook. It's my lawyers. The buyers found something during due diligence. They were pulling out. Just like that, the whole victory turned to ash in a single phone call. The next 72 hours were just a chaotic blur of transatlantic flights and forensic accountants trying to piece it all together. The something they found was a key employee of mine running a shadow business, using my resources, my team, to service my own clients behind my back. The liability was catastrophic. When I finally confronted him, he didn't even try to deny it, so I did the only thing I could do. I fired half the team, returned every single cent to the clients who'd been wronged, and took full public responsibility. And then I started again, from absolute zero. "You were so focused on the big deals, you never noticed." Those were his words to me. And the hell of it is, he was right. I was so blinded by the grand strategy, by the big prize, that I completely ignored the rot spreading right through my own foundation. It was a fatal blind spot, a scar that would change the very architecture of how I built everything from that day forward. And that scar led me to this concept. I don't build businesses on trust anymore. I build them on systems. Systems with checks and balances so finely tuned that betrayal isn't just difficult, it's irrelevant. It's an architecture designed to protect against the simple, predictable patterns of human nature itself. Okay, so building a fortress against outside threats. That's one thing. But the next really big lesson, that was all internal. It was about fundamentally recalibrating my own understanding of value and figuring out what was actually worth defending in the first place. I was doing some consulting for this shipping magnate, a guy worth something like $4 billion. We're at lunch, and he spends a solid 20 minutes arguing with his assistant over a $300 charge on his hotel bill. It seemed completely absurd to me. This man's time was literally worth thousands a minute. So I finally had to ask him, "Why are you wasting your time on this?" And his response? Man, it changed my entire perspective on everything. He just looks at me and says, "Julian, I'm not protecting $300. I'm protecting my empire. Because the people who steal $300 today will steal $3 million tomorrow if you let them. The principle is the only thing that matters."
And that one conversation gave me this. This is the true hierarchy. Integrity. That's the foundation. It's non-negotiable. Time is the only asset you can never ever get back. Relationships are the support structure, and damn are they hard to rebuild once they're broken. And money? Money's just a tool. It always comes back. I stopped charging by the hour that day.
So you collect these scars, you build these impenetrable systems, you achieve what they call sovereignty. And then what? The final lesson, really, is about what you find at the top of the mountain after all the fighting is done.
I was on a private island with a billionaire. This guy was in his 80s. He's wearing these faded shorts, his house was simple, and there I am, 35 years old, in a $5,000 suit, thinking I had finally arrived. He just kind of gestures to the island, the sunset, all of it. Then he says, all this is just the price of admission to the real game. And in that one moment, I realized I was still playing for all the wrong prizes.
This is the real game. It's not the money, it's not the status, it's freedom. Real, true sovereignty isn't about how much you can accumulate. It's about the absolute, unconditional freedom that you have to earn in the fire. I sold my fancy car the next week. I started measuring my wealth in units of freedom, not dollars.
Which, of course, leads to the big question. If the money and the cars and the penthouse are all just the ticket to get in, then what's the point of all this fighting, of all the scars and the sleepless nights? And that's a question you have to answer for yourself.
Because in the end, the trophies just gather dust. They're for other people to look at. The scars are yours. They're the proof that you lived, that you fought, that you paid the price. They are the map of who you had to become to survive. And that is a ledger worth keeping.